Good evening and welcome to the April 18th meeting of the Plymouth Township Zoning Hearing Board. Would everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We do have a busy agenda tonight, but let's get right to it. The first case is 1804 Johnson Road. Lisa Marie Fitzpatrick. Mr. Solicitor, would you?
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the application of Lisa Marie Fitzpatrick, 1804 Johnson Road, Plymouth Meeting, PA. Ms. Fitzpatrick is asking for a variance from section 1909.E of the Plymouth Township zoning ordinance to install a fence within a front yard setback. The property is zoned A residential.
What are you? Lisa?
Yes. It's Lisa Marie Fitzpatrick.
Please amend your comments for or from the testimony that's given to matters of truth and
Yes.
Want to tell us and the members of the public who are here tonight what you'd like to do?
Sure. We're just trying to install a fence on our property to contain our dogs. And our property is quite unique, where our lot is very long and the house is all the way at the bottom, at the back. So anything that we do is going to be in front of the house, so that's why we have to file this variance.
And what type of fence would you like to put up?
We are putting up a split post and rail fence 4 foot high with the, that chicken wire type stuff because I don't want it to obstruct views. I don't want it to look strange. I want to be able to see through it.
Do you want to hand up those photos to the board?
Sure. Yeah, I just had some photos of the property I took off Google. And,
We'll start down
there.
Start down the far end.
Thank you. Oh, and here's another one. Sorry. That's the lot line.
Have anything further to add?
No, only that I'll just state for reference that the back fence on the back of the house, that's 56 feet in purple there, that actually has nothing to do with the variance. That's approved anyway. So I'm just looking to get the variance for that front section, 60 feet up from the house and 31 feet over to my neighbor's existing fence.
60 or 65?
60, actually, I think it's 64, technically, according to the diagram on the next page. I think I added an extra foot because the fence is going to kind of go off to the right a little bit, so I wasn't sure.
Okay, good. Ms. Pygott, do you have any questions?
Okay, you said the fence would extend approximately 60 feet from the front of your house.
Mm-hmm.
How far from the road, from the street where cars drive?
It would be 241 feet from the street to where the fence would even start. You hardly could ever see it from the street.
Oh, okay.
If any of you have gone by, you're probably like,
Right.
I can't even see the house.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Mr. Daly?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hi, Ms. Gallagher. I noticed that your neighbor has a fence that is sort of perpendicular to Johnson Road, so you're just going to look to cut over to intersect with that.
Mine's
right?
going to butt right up into his. Yes,
Okay.
on my front side and my rear side.
Okay. Yeah, my neighbors have a fence like the kind you're proposing, so it seems like a good choice. Are your neighbors okay with you doing this?
Yes, we've talked to both of them and they're perfectly fine.
Okay, great. No further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Aprile?
Is this your neighbor, or is this,
No, it's
that's just a type
random
of fence?
picture.
You got the flag lot, you're in the back?
I'm in the back, yeah.
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ramondo?
No questions, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just looked at it, drove by, and I think you'd be hard pressed to see the fence.
Yeah, that's what I put on the variance, too. You probably won't even see it from the street unless you stop and get out of the car.
So, I have no further questions. Any questions, Mr. Sander?
No questions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Mr. Conroy?
I have nothing further.
Does anybody from the public want to speak in support of this application? Does anyone from the public want to speak in opposition to this application? Okay, hearing nothing, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman. Granted, we allow a variance, we grant a variance from the Township Zoning Ordinance number 342 as amended, Article 19, Section 1909, point capital E, to install a fence within a front yard setback on the property located at 1804 Johnson Road in an A residential zoning district, will be installed in substantial conformity with the exhibits and testimony presented tonight.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I second it.
Thank you. Let's have a vote. Ms. Pygott?
In favor.
Mr. Daly?
In favor.
Mr. Preloy?
In favor.
Mr. Armando?
In favor.
The chair votes in favor. Good luck.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
2116 Sierra Road. Come on up. Mr. Sanders?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the application of Freedom Fence for Sally, S-A-L-L-I-E, Haas, H-A-A-S. This is for variance from section 1909, point capital E of the Plymouth Township zoning ordinance to install a fence within a front yard setback. The property is located at 2116 Sierra Road in the C residential zoning district.
Renee Sally Haas.
David, Bob,
As the comments are affirmed, the testimony about to give in this matter is true, the truth, and the truth. Yes.
Ken, do you want to tell the board and the public what you'd like to do?
we're trying to put a fence in to enclose our backyard for our young grandson and also our two dogs. The offset from the house is approximately 10 feet, and then it follows perpendicular to the road, and then it follows the property line back where it's adjacent on the one side with our neighbor's fence, and then on the other side of the property, it just encloses from the corner of our house to the corner of their fence as well. The measurements from the sidewalk are 33 feet from the sidewalk, is what we're proposing, and 42 feet off the curb to the fence.
See that last one?
It's 33 feet from the edge of the sidewalk to the fence,
Right.
and 42 feet off of the curb to the fence.
Is that from Sierra Road?
Yes, yes.
From Yellowstone, when you go back up to Yellowstone Road, it's...
Yeah, Yellowstone is technically the front of our house, but
You're on a corner and you've got
they're both-
a strange...
And we're
Of course.
our house is.
Yeah.
It's on an angle.
And this is a photo, a mock-up of the actual fence that we're proposing. I believe it's a aluminum black panel.
They said 54-inch black aluminum fence and the little thing they attached to the application.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm just looking at it and you're awful far off of Sierra Road. Plus for the fact that you've got a really unique property as to being on the corner, you'd be able to, it really is your backyard, and it's only because you've got that funny little frontage on Sierra Road that it even is in the front yard, and I'm not even sure how much it is there. I'm talking to Mr. Conroy, and he assured me that at least some of it's in the front yard, but it's hard to tell.
You go to that front corner of the house, along Sierra Road, and past there,
So, but not much of it is. So you've got a really de
It's an odd
minimis,
shaped property.
the minimis variance due solely to the shape of your lot. So, any questions, Ms. Pygott?
No, Mr. Chairman, I don't have any questions.
Thank you. Mr. Daly?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, any issues from your neighbors?
No, both verbally have said they're fine with it.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a good addition to the entire neighborhood.
Okay. Usually in cases like this too, we look at when fences are going up one corner lots, we want to make sure there are no visibility issues for drivers on either
Yeah.
road. But it looks like you're set up high enough that that wouldn't make any kind of
Yeah.
any kind of difference.
That's the other reason why we went with a see-through fence, to make
Yeah.
sure it wasn't obstructive and it looked nice from the road.
Yeah, the preponderance of fences that we get, for which people tend to be that design.
Sure, sure.
Thank you, no further questions, appreciate it.
Mr. Acrilli?
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Ramondo?
Pretty straightforward, no questions, thank you.
I have no questions. Mr. Sander?
No questions.
Any comments? Anybody from the public like to speak in support of this application? Would anybody like to speak in opposition to this application? There's no public comment. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman. We grant a variance from Plymouth Township zoning ordinance number 342, as amended Article 19, Section 1909, capital E, to install a fence within a front yard setback in property located at 2116 Sierra Road in the C residential zoning district. The installation to be in substantial conformity with exhibits of testimony presented tonight.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I second.
So vote. Ms. Pygott?
In favor.
Mr. Daly?
In favor.
Mr. Acrilli?
In favor.
Mr. Ramondo?
In favor.
The chair votes in favor. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Our next case is 120 Sebastian Lane. Mr. Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the application of Freedom Fence for Ellis Gear, G-E-E-R. This is for a variance from section 1909.E of the Plymouth Township zoning ordinance to allow the installation of a fence within a front yard setback. This property is located at 120 Sebastian Lane in the B as in boy residential zoning district.
You are
Hi, I'm Ellis Gear.
sworn in. Again, would you like to tell the board and the members of the public what you'd like to do?
Yes, so I have a picture here of the black aluminum fence that we are proposing to put in our front backyard as well as in the side yard. We do have, my wife and I, she wasn't able to make it tonight, but we have a 20-month-old daughter as well as a dog. So we would like to enclose the yard to keep them in safe as well as keep things out as well. We decided to go with the black aluminum fence, much like the last couple, for safety purposes. I understand it is on a corner, that way it'll still keep visible lines coming from each way. And then I also have just a mock draw up from our Freedom Fence. So you'll see on the corner where there is traffic coming in and out of the neighborhood, we do propose a slight little curve so that it is giving more of a visible line on Johnson and Sebastian Lane. And I believe estimates, so it's about 7 feet from the edge of the sidewalk to the fence and 16 feet from the curb to the fence line.
And farther back on the corner where you curve.
Yes, and further back from the curb, yes.
And you show 48-inch
48
fence.
inches, correct.
Thank you. Ms. sorry.
I'm just going to say, when you say 7 feet from the edge of sidewalk, that is from Sebastian, side Sebastian, or Johnson?
That'll be from
That's what we have.
Johnson as well as the side Sebastian after the little curve from the corner
Oh, okay.
of that sidewalk.
And the side Sebastian, and the same thing with the edge of curb?
Correct.
Thank you.
Ms. Pygott, do you have any questions?
No, I just wanted to verify that you said you're going to have the fences on both sides of the house and the back? Is that how?
That is correct, yes.
And your back faces Johnson Road?
Our back faces Johnson, correct.
Okay, thank you. I have no other questions.
Thank you. Mr. Daly?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is going to be 54-inch fencing, right? 4.5 feet?
It says 48.
48.
48, sorry,
inches,
okay.
yes,
I
so
thought
40,
it initial 50 inches. Thank you. Will there be a gate onto the Johnson?
The gate, there will be no gate on Johnson. The gate will be on the Sebastian Lane side, on the side of our home. And it's going to be, I'm not sure the exact distance, but from the model you can see it's about up to the side of our home. So there's a significant amount of space still on that original front yard area for visibility lines and for traffic and whatnot.
Okay, and are your neighbors okay with this?
Yes, they are, yes. Our direct neighbor has decided that they don't want a fence at this time.
Okay.
But everyone else on the other has already, I believe, should have in front of you
Yeah.
at some point or another in the last couple of months.
Yeah, I think we had a whole neighborhood.
I'm not here
Yeah.
tonight.
Yeah, you missed that.
Yeah, we're one of the last ones into the neighborhood, so I apologize that you've heard the same spiel over and over again.
Oh, that's all
Here we are.
right. Yeah, that's all right. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Mr. Aprile,
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Armando.
No questions.
I have no questions. Mr. Sander,
No questions.
Mr. Conroy.
No question.
Does anyone from the public want to speak in support of this application? Does anyone from the public want to speak in opposition from this application? Hearing no public comment, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we grant a variance from Plymouth Township zoning ordinance number 342 as amended, Article 19, Section 1909, point capital E, to install a fence within the front yard setback at the property located at 120 Sebastian Lane in a B residential zoning district. Installation to be in substantial conformity with exhibits and testimony presented tonight.
I second that motion.
Thank you, Ms. Bagat. Let's have a vote. Ms. Bagat,
In favor.
Mr. Daly,
In favor.
Mr. Aprile,
In favor.
Mr. Armando,
In favor.
and the chair votes in favor. And good luck.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, thank you.
124 Sebastian Lane.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the application of Freedom Fence on behalf of Eric, E-R-I-K, Olmo, O-L-M-O. This is for a variance from Section 1909, point capital E of the Plymouth Township zoning ordinance to install a fence within a front yard setback. The property is located at 124 Sebastian Lane in the B as in boy residential zoning district.
Eric Holman.
He needs two of them.
So I have some packets on that.
Sure.
I have
Why don't we
two.
just mark, we could, you know, what, we're going to hold on to this one. We'll mark this packet Exhibit A1
Thank you.
Yeah, there's some pictures in there. So I'm from the same development you've heard a lot
for
from.
applicant 1. It's going to be 54 feet high.
54 inches.
We have large fence.
Yeah.
See from the moon.
So yeah, our lot is zoned with 2 front yards. We're proposing to put a fence in our functional backyard, which backs up against Johnson Road. We have a dog and future family that we're considering keeping in close quarters. It's very similar to much of the other development, aluminum fence, 54 inches. We are going to have a few gates in there for accessibility. Our neighbors are on board with this. We spoke to the one neighbor we have directly. They are aware, okay with it. And yeah, I think that's it.
Ms. Bagat, do you have any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Daly,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No questions.
Mr. Aprile,
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Armando.
No questions, thank you.
Just have a couple quick, I see you have the fence coming all the way out to the front of the house.
Yeah, it's going to be in line with the front of the house on both sides.
And how far back is the front of the house from Sebastian Lane?
I don't know. That is not to scale. It's much farther than that. And I don't think I have any pictures of the front yard.
Yeah, you just see
It's
the
usually in that development, they're right up against the front yard setback, which I believe is 30.
it's still- Looking at the plan you attached, it does show a relatively, I know it's not to scale or anything, but a relatively large front yard setback, so. Okay, and again, it's 54 inches and you got 3 or 4 gates on there,
Yeah, 3 gates.
and you set back 15 feet from Johnson Road.
Correct.
Okay. I have no further questions. Mr. Sander?
No questions.
Mr. Conroy?
35.
75.
No, nothing.
Anyone from the public want to speak in support of this application? Anyone from the public would like to speak in opposition to this application? Hearing no public comment, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we grant a variance from Plymouth Township zoning ordinance number 342 as amended, Article 19, Section 1909.E to install a fence within a front yard setback at the property located 124 Sebastian Lane in a B residential zoning district. Installation to be in substantial conformity with the exhibit's testimony presented tonight.
I second that motion.
Thank you. Okay, let's have a vote. Ms. Pygott?
In favor?
Mr. Daly?
In favor.
Mr. Aprile?
In favor.
Mr. Armando?
In favor.
The chair votes in favor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck. Hey, Mike, that wasn't in the front yard.
No.
That was
Not
up to the
what you
front
would call the
house.
front of the house. 117 Alexander Drive.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the application of Freedom Fence for Kerry, K-E-R-R-I, Heckert, H-E-C-K-E-R-T. This is an application for a variance from Section 1909.E of the Plymouth Township zoning ordinance to install a fence within a front yard setback. This property is located at 117 Alexander Drive in the B as in boy residential zoning district.
Pretty close from the school, from the elementary school.
Mitchell Hecker.
Want to explain to the board what you'd like to do?
Sure, good evening. Thank you for having us. So we would like to install a 6-foot white vinyl privacy fence in order to keep our 2 children, 4 and 6, our dog in the fence. And we hope to install an in-ground pool come August, so aiming to provide safety to the rest of the neighborhood by preventing any unwanted entrances. We are on a corner lot, but the way the street is set up, there's no stop sign, so there's no hard turn, and we have a very large side yard, so we were hoping to go off the side of the house and back and fence in the rest of the yard going through the back. The fence will be
15 feet from the curb line, 7 feet from the sidewalk.
and we would like to have 2 gates put in. We do have pictures.
We do have pictures of what the, yep.
Does Alexander curve?
Yeah.
I know we're the first ones in this group. I know you're going to have more coming.
Still, a lot of the lots are still under construction, I know.
There were one of maybe 6 or 7 occupied houses right now.
Yeah, and the question's probably coming about, have we spoke with our neighbors? We only have 5 other neighbors actually in the development right now. They all have no problem with it. A number of them are going to be applying for something similar, and because we are putting a pool in, hopefully, that makes it a pretty popular potential destination for them.
And we do also know the family coincidentally moving in next door to us. And we were able to check in with them and make sure they were okay, even though they don't even live there yet. And they're also agreeable.
Ms. Pygott, any questions?
Okay, just one question. Again, the fence would be on the rear of your house and the sides? It would go all the way around?
Off the back corner,
The back.
and then, yeah, so in essence, our backyard, but yes, off the back corner of the house to the.
Now, is your back facing Plymouth?
Our-
No.
It's facing the inside circle, so we're the inside circle. So our yard faces the other backyards.
Oh,
We
okay.
face out.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
Mr. Daly?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just the white vinyl, with white vinyl privacy fences, we always want to, enclosed fences, we always want to make sure that there's not going to be a visibility issue for anybody driving. I know you're on a curb and driving around either a gentle curb like that. Is there likely to be any, do you foresee any issue with that?
We've elected to leave a very large portion of our side yard open for the kids in the neighborhood to be able to play.
Okay.
So that corner where people are coming around is going to be open.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would also, just to round that out, because it is basically a big oval, there is only one access point off of Plymouth Road.
Right.
So when you're coming up that way, there shouldn't be a ton of traffic coming around that way.
Yeah, no, I noticed that one.
Correct.
There's always concern about kids, running
Yep.
out in the street.
Understood. Yeah.
From an unexpected angle.
Yep.
No further questions, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Aprile?
So what are the streets?
It's just
It's
Alexander.
just Alexander Drive.
So where's the main road?
There is none.
Plymouth
It's
Road.
just Alexander, and the exit comes out to Plymouth Road, right across from Plymouth Elementary School.
Across from the school.
I understand that. Where's your house in conjunction with that? I can't tell from this.
Oh, when you come into the neighborhood, you turn to the right, and we're the corner lot on the inside circle on the right.
On the highest point of that inside circle.
So they come into the job, they're the first house.
You come into the job, you turn right. You go past a few of the houses. There's
Yeah.
that little intersection where the long driveways are.
So you're not the first house?
No, no, we're into the neighborhood.
Yeah.
I don't, yeah.
You know what?
When you're looking at our house from the elementary school, you see the back of our house.
Right.
And our house is facing, there's like two little cul-de-sacs that have 3 long driveways, and our house faces those little cul-de-sacs with the long driveways.
I've been there. I know a couple of your proposed neighbors.
We're the gray one with the deck up right now. And the snow fence to keep the dog.
How close are you to the power lines?
We are,
Across from it.
we are this house right here.
So you're this one,
Yep, 79.
and you're coming in here, and you're on the inside.
Correct, on the inside, and this is that roundabout there. That's the corner.
Oh,
And
so
the
you're-
power lines
You're
are
this
here.
corner,
Yep,
right?
yep, this
Okay.
corner right here.
So how far is this side? Where's this side at?
That's on this kind of rounded edge here. So I'll blow it up a little bit. That's probably, there's
So-
a driveway, fence will come off this corner here over to the
So you're gonna
sidewalk.
come, and you're 7 feet off,
7 feet off the sidewalk.
beginning of the sidewalk?
Yep.
The interior side of the sidewalk?
Correct.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep.
Any further questions?
Nope.
Mr. Romano?
No further questions?
I have no questions. Mr. Sanders?
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Fowler?
Were you able to bring that up on Google Maps?
No, that was our, no, well, you can't get to our
Can't
house.
deliver.
What's the diagram?
I had an issue trying to find your house just to post the property.
Yeah.
I think I called you and hung up on you.
You did,
Yeah, because I was trying to. So that was me. I apologize.
No, that's
You
it.
can find Alexander, you can't find 117. And
That's
I
the
will
development
attest to
plot.
DoorDash, Amazon, everyone also has.
All right, so I wasn't the only one.
You are not the only
Just
one.
making sure.
Well, I found a place in Perky Owenville with the address.
Yeah.
They've gotten a few of our grocery orders, sadly.
Just couldn't find it. I had to call Dave. Or
Yeah,
Tim,
well,
yeah.
that was after about 2 hours of being investigated.
So then I did find it eventually.
Yeah, as of Saturday, I think Google Maps shows you an aerial view of the site, but that's about it.
It's a challenge.
Yeah, you can find it though if you use Google Maps to direct your driving.
Yeah.
It was a,
Yeah, to Alexander Drive.
I had no
Yeah.
issue. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anyone from the public who'd like to speak in support of this application? Is there anyone who'd like to speak in opposition to this application? Okay, hearing no public comment, do we have a motion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we grant variance from Plymouth Township zoning ordinance number 342 as amended. Article 19, section 1909, capital E, to install a fence within the front yard setback, property located at 117 Alexander Drive in a B residential zoning district. Installation to be in substantial conformity with the exhibits and testimony presented tonight.
Do we have a second?
I second that motion.
Thank you. Let's vote. Ms. Pygott?
In favor?
Mr. Daly?
In favor.
Mr. Freeling?
In favor?
Sir Armando?
In favor.
The chair votes in favor.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Yes, unless you want them. Very good. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
That's on
Same builder as the other neighborhood.
Yeah.
Just phase two.
Selma, South Pam.
They all the same homeowner association.
Yeah.
They have to get all these passed from the homeowner association.
I don't know about that. That's their problem.
Yeah, but I don't know if that was.
3,000
That's the inside loop.
3005 Meredith Lane, I know. 3005 Meredith Lane.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the application of Matthew Laviola, L.A., capital V-I-O-L-A, for relief from section 1908.1 of the Plymouth Township zoning ordinance to situate 2 sheds on a property where only 1 shed is allowed. This property is located at 3005 Meredith Lane in the B residential zoning district. B is in bold. Trina, T-R-I-N-A.
Yes.
I have a question for you. Will you have a total of 3 sheds if this were granted?
This was,
That's
yeah,
what I wanted.
the shed, I guess I just came to like when the surveyor named that as a shed. It's more like a potting shed. It's like a 4x6 shed. And it really should be temporary. So we don't necessarily have to keep that. It's just more or less.
Is that the one up here?
Yeah, that is
The little one?
the little one. The little one.
That's what I thought. I thought it would be 3 sheds when I read it and I heard this.
Yeah, and I
say
thought I put that on the application. I didn't know how to kind of convey that, but it was never like it's kind of set in the corner there.
Yeah, like it doesn't, you can't fit a biker in it or anything, it's,
Because you got add 10 by 10 shed to backyard, 2 existing sheds, 1 12 by 6, 1 6 by 4.
That little shed is a 6x4. That's the little tiny one, which isn't really doing.
So
Okay.
it's in reality 3 sheds. We just want to make sure the record was clear.
It is, yes, exactly. But like I said, that I didn't really call it a shed, but yes.
So while we're still on this, shed, one is 12 by 6 or 6 by 4. One is 6 by 4, the little
Yeah.
one that we just spoke about. 6 feet by 4 feet.
12 by
Okay.
6.
12 by 6 is another one. And then you're proposing a 10 by 10.
That's correct.
Gotcha. Okay.
Do you have 12 by 6 correct? I thought it was like 12 by 10. Did I not?
I have 12 by 6 down here on the application.
Oh, it's
No.
12 by 10.
It is 10. It does say 10.
That's my handwriting.
Oh, that's a,
I did.
Sorry.
You know what? It looks like a side. Yeah, I agree.
sorry about that. Yeah.
No,
All right.
no, that's
fine.
Clear.
That's fine.
But I wanted to make sure. I wanted to make sure it's clear with what
We wanted it clear in the record.
The zoning officer was wrong, let's put it on.
Anyway, with that, do you want to explain to everybody what you'd like to do?
Yeah, we've been working like a couple years, 3 years now, I think, with an architect to make our house more livable space. We've got 3 kids, we're just outgrowing it. We talked about converting the garage to a mudroom, laundry room, and kind of finishing the basement for the kids, things like that. So we're back and forth with this architect on what we can do to displace what is currently in the garage, which is not a car, but it's like bikes, sporting equipment, things like that. And after a couple of years of him getting drove back and forth, she came up with a side, I don't know what you want to call it, storage unit or something like that that was going to attach to the side of the house by the garage. And we said that's fine, but then she looked and it was beyond the setback. So that was going to be a problem or something like that. We couldn't do that. So then the next suggestion was to apply for a variance for a shed. And that's where we are. Like, we didn't know exactly what to apply for a variance to. We don't want to, but they seem to put us in a direction where it's easier to apply for a shed.
Okay. Do you still want to convert the garage to the mud room?
It's already done.
Oh, okay.
It's already done, yeah,
So
it's-
convert garage to mud room
And like a laundry room and a pantry.
and laundry room. Okay.
And mud garage. We have that.
Yeah, and pantry. Okay, so that's done already, but that's part of the reason why you're asking for the room.
Yes.
Okay,
we have
so
a
I
pie
understand.
in
We
our
have a pod
driveway right now.
You have
A pie, a
Yeah,
storage
the big-
pie.
It's a temporary
Yeah.
storage unit.
Okay.
It's there.
Where's the shed going?
Right up behind the house.
Concrete patio?
Turn the,
This one?
yeah.
Right?
There were 2 drawings. The second drawing was from Ashen Associates. That was our surveyor. The page 2 drawing, it just shows like total impervious and all that kind of stuff. The page 1 is the one.
Which is the sheds.
Okay.
Got it? Yeah.
Yeah, it may have been page 2 you're looking at. I don't know if that happened. I just wanted to show that because that was the main reason.
Ms. Pygott, do you have any questions?
I was just looking at the drawing. The proposed shed that you want is 10 by 10 foot. Now where is it going to be in conjunction to the existing 12 by 10 foot?
Well, it would be closer to the house for
Closer
more
to-
easy access for bikes and things like that.
Is it like 200 feet?
Well, it's probably,
So they won't be side by side?
no, it's far. It's all the way around the side. I would guess at least 150 feet, I would guess.
All right, and it's just gonna be used for storage? We have any utilities or anything like that?
No, there's like no electric, there's nothing, like, it's literally just for.
Right, just for storage.
And different, yeah, to displace what's in the garage.
Right. Thank you, no other questions.
I did talk to my neighbors about it.
Uh-huh.
I showed them, kind of walked them through everything, let them know what's going on. They were fine with it. They said they'd be fine. We had put a patio in a while ago, and when that was done, I think that was pretty big to do, because where's the water going to go? So I talked with, I don't know who it was it zoning or whatever officer it was, and told me exactly how to run the dishes and run the lines, and done that. And they haven't had any problems, we haven't had any problems. So I know they felt pretty comfortable with whatever we're about to do next.
Thank you.
So, and incidentally, the water from that patio was actually better displaced now that we have the rest of the construction done, with the drainage ditch on the side of the house. So I'm now draining everything to the other side of the house where my neighbors are on the hill, we're below. So if anything happens, it's on us anyway. So it actually displaces anywhere that it's actually already covered from the bank. So I kind of I want to make sure I thought that was clear. I definitely took care of that. I thought that one through. If there's any questions about that.
Mr. Daly?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Laviola, is the small potting shed you mentioned, the one here, it's sort of furthest away?
Yeah,
to try to
that's
establish which is
this one right there.
Yeah, okay.
That small one there.
Great, thank you. I don't have any further questions other than, are you familiar with the Monty Python sketch about Arthur Two Sheds Jackson? If you ever get a chance, watch it. It's probably on YouTube.
I didn't. I'm familiar with Monty Python, maybe just not that particular.
So the guy-
Maybe I don't know it by name.
A guy who proposes to build a second shed, it goes off the rails.
Okay.
It's hilarious. But no further questions. Thank you.
Mr. Aprile?
No questions, thanks.
Mr. Armando?
No questions, thank you.
And, again, you're just basically taking what was in your garage and putting it in this shed?
Exactly.
I have no further questions. Mr. Sanders?
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Conroy?
No questions.
Does anybody from the public like to speak in support of this application?
I do have a
I'm sorry.
question. Height, how high is it? Did someone ask already?
I think it would just be a standard height. I didn't really.
Can't be higher than 12 feet.
Oh, no. Well, yeah, it wouldn't be. I'm guessing a regular 8, 10, something like that. I'm trying to cut costs anyway.
Can't be higher than 12.
12.
Anyone from the public want to speak in support of this application? Anybody from the public like to speak in opposition to this application? Hearing no public comment, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we grant a variance from Plymouth Township zoning ordinance number 342 as amended. Article 19, Section 1908.1, to allow for 2 sheds where only one is allowed. Property located at 3005 Meredith Lane in a B residential zoning district. To be this installation to be in substantial conformity with the exhibits and testimony presented tonight.
It's 3 sheds, because they already have 2
Oh,
driveway
yes, sorry,
applications.
to allow 3.
Dave Conroy made his mistake for the year.
Thank you for correcting me. To allow 3 sheds on the property where only 1 shed is allowed.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I second it.
Thank you. Let's have a vote. Ms. Bogot?
In favor.
Mr. Daly?
In favor.
Mr. Aprile?
In favor.
Mr. Armando?
In favor.
The chair votes in favor. Good luck.
Thank you.
Denise second.
Yes.
Yes.
I may even ask. We got this down pat.
Yeah. 114 Key Street. Guys, you don't have to say if you don't want to.
It's boring.
Well, they've liked it so far. They just want to see how it ends. Yeah, this is the application of Stephen, S-T-E-P-H-E-N, and Heather Lash, L-A-S-H. This is for variances from section 702F as in Frank and 702G of the Plymouth Township zoning ordinance. The first to allow 42.4% impervious coverage where a maximum of 35% is allowed, and to allow 57.6% green space where a minimum of 65% is required. The address is 114 Keys, Keys Street, in the C Residential Zoning District.
Heather Rush.
Stephen Lash.
Tell us what you'd like to do.
Sure. So there's currently a wing, double-story wing to the east side of our house. We're replacing that with something that's a little bit larger. It's a kitchen, and then it'll be a second story. The extensions in the front and the back will add a little bit of impervious area, but the back is not. It's already a paved court, and so there's no additional area in the back. So we're looking for relief to just extend that forward a little bit. Answer any questions that you guys have. I believe the site plan was included with the...
Yes.
And I just wanted to clarify, on the site plan, it says remove existing in your keeping.
We are keeping that.
Okay.
It's fairly thick concrete.
Because I believe if you were removing it, you wouldn't even need to.
Correct.
Just wanted to put that.
Thank you for that. And this is, just to let you know, the house that I grew up in since I was 2, and we don't plan on moving anytime soon. All of the neighbors around me are the neighbors I've had since I was 2, or at least for a long time. We've talked to all of them. They know about the plan. We have a family, and the way the house currently is, we're kind of outgrowing it. So in order to stay, we just want to extend it out. So that's the reason why we want to have the variance to expand our house.
And is the height going to be consistent with the existing house?
Yeah, it'll be consistent with the existing version.
But you'll be a little bit bigger on the front, a little
Yeah,
bit bigger.
front and back, it'll come forward on the front and back, and the ridge line will actually run perpendicular to the line.
When you say owner's suite, does that means a second floor, a bedroom upgrade?
Bedroom and bathroom.
Bedroom and a bathroom.
Yes, the downstairs would be kitchen, and the upstairs is bedroom and bathroom.
Oh, yeah, it's not indicated in the plan, but there is, so there's, between where the existing extension is now and the driveway, there's just a little bit of a sidewalk, paved sidewalk. It's approximately 82 feet, we're removing that as part of this, so.
82 square feet?
82 square feet, yes, sir, 82.75 to be.
So you are reducing that part of
Yeah, so we're
the...
going to put grass in there.
Yes, sir. And there also, the plan indicates a maximum allotment for the front walk of 200 square feet, but he's taken that front walk, the architect took it straight out to Key Street. We're not going nearly that far with that walk, that'll come to the driveway rather than coming out to the street, so there's additional, it's about 100, so there's about 182 square feet that we're removing as part of this, from what's indicated on the site.
Ms. Spygott, do you have any questions?
Just a question. Regarding you're going to attach to the kitchen, your existing kitchen, on the other side of that. What happens with your current kitchen? Is that going to be part of another room, and you're just going to put up a whole new kitchen?
No, so the existing kitchen is on that indicated bump out right now, so that's coming out and being replaced with the new kitchen. And then we're also opening the door that goes into the current dining room to be a little bit larger.
Oh, okay.
So the kitchen is just getting expanded.
It's going to get a bigger kitchen. Thank you.
Kids split stuff.
Mr. Daly?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The application says that the side yard setback is already 28 feet non-conforming, but the drawing shows both 30 feet aggregate and 12 feet and 18 feet on the side. What's the reason for the two-foot discrepancy?
So the 12 feet is to the building,
Okay.
and the 18 feet, you're speaking of the 18 feet that's indicated in the front, right? That, I believe, is indicating, the architect just wanted to indicate what the existing, what it should be.
Oh, okay. All right.
Just to show you the 2-foot discrepancies.
Okay. You said, the application says you're going to work to reduce the impervious coverage from the current 40% plus toward a net of 35. By how much? Do you know? Can you predict?
So, like I said, we're adding about 112 square feet. We'll be moving through the sidewalk at the 50% of the front path, about 182.
Okay.
So it's a net negative.
Okay.
And then there's probably other places we could look to cut back. There are a couple of places on here that are, I'm not familiar with how this is calculated
Right.
for here, but it's deck.
Okay.
So it's not concrete. I don't know if that
Deck
counts.
is considered impervious
It
in
is.
Plymouth Township,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. So there's some areas that you might be able to look at to reduce further.
It would still be what it currently, still would be at least what, it's not going to be more than what it currently is.
No. It's let's see, about 60 square feet less.
Okay. I have no further questions. Thank you very
Thank
much.
Mr. Aprile?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of clarification questions. How many buildings are here, one or two?
The main house is only one building.
And that's where this addition's going. It's
Yes.
not a separate house in the backyard.
No,
No.
yeah, it's an addition, not a separate
Okay, that
house.
walkway and grass thing was like, what's that mean?
Gotcha.
Sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
And then, so your existing kitchen, you're blowing out, and you're just redoing the kitchen?
Correct.
And you're putting a second floor on it?
Correct.
With a master suite?
Yes, sir.
Right? All in the same building footprint?
Yep.
That's already there?
Just expanding the kitchen forward a bit.
Yeah,
into
there's
the yard.
extension in the front and the back, but it's going left to right on what's existing.
Okay. Do you have final drawing yet?
You do. Yeah. We have an architect's.
But that's not this one, right?
That is not that one. That is from the final drawings,
Right.
but not.
But I mean like a final with the final impervious, and you say you're taking this walkway out, you're changing this. Do we have final numbers yet? Or do you have final numbers yet?
No, not final numbers for the walkway and the site.
So do we need that just to confirm what you're doing?
Well, they're asking for relief, very specific relief, that we're trusting that that's the relief that they need. So if you grant what they ask for, that's the limit of what you granted. If they need additional relief, they'll have to come back in.
Okay. No more questions. Thank you.
Mr. Ramondo?
No questions, thank you.
I have no, well, where you said remove existing, and then you said you're not removing it?
We're not doing that, no.
But that's a big paved area behind your house, like a patio? And then you have an open yard, and then you have a pool? Is that? Okay, I just want to make sure I understand.
It's actually 3 tiers leading up to.
See steps and steps and...
Yeah.
Anyway, I have no further questions, Mr. Sander.
No questions.
Mr. Conway?
Nothing further.
Anyone from the public want to speak in support of this application? Anyone from the public want to speak in opposition to this application? Hearing no public comment, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we grant variances from Plymouth Township zoning ordinance number 342 as amended, Article 7, S Section 702, point capital F and 702, point capital G, to allow 42.4% impervious coverage, where a maximum of 35% is allowed, to allow 57.6% green space, where a minimum of 65% is required, at the property located 114 Keys Street, in a C residential zoning district, to be in substantial conformity with the exhibits and testimony presented tonight.
Do we have a second?
I second that motion.
Thank you. Ms. Pygott, vote.
In favor.
Mr. Daly?
In favor.
Mr. Aprile?
In favor.
Mr. Raimondo?
In favor.
The chair votes in favor. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you.
And our last case for the evening is 906 Rich Pike.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the application of two written out TWO Farms, Inc., slash Conocelli Allen Wood Road LP, for relief from section 1601 point capital C point 1, 1601 point capital C point 3 point small a, 1601 point capital C point 4, and 1603 point capital R of the Plymouth Township zoning ordinance. This is for a special exception to allow a gasoline filling station with a convenience store. This is variances to allow 460.46 square feet of signage, where a maximum of 130 square feet of signage is allowed. It is a variance to allow a double-faced pylon sign 25 feet in height, where a maximum height of 20 feet is allowed, and a variance to allow a 16 square foot directional sign with the business name located on it, where a maximum of 4 square feet is allowed. This property is located at 906 Ridge Pike in the commercial zoning district.
Good evening, Neil Stein, representing the applicant.
Is the applicant Two Farms Inc.?
Yes.
And the owner is?
The owner is the Conocelli family. Two Farms is the equitable.
Okay, let's get that,
Lease
let's
agreement
get
of
that
sale or
straight.
something?
Yeah. Two Farms Inc. is the equitable owner. And Neil, is it Conocelli Allen Wood Road LP is the legal owner of the property?
Yeah, the deed is attached to the application package.
Getting a rough night tonight.
Legal. Okay. And there is in the packet an agreement of sale?
No, just the deed.
Okay. is
I
there-
can get you a copy of the agreement of sale if you want.
Yeah, I think we're going to just need that for technical standing purposes.
Otherwise, who are you to be applying?
I understand.
Just put any conditions on it.
And, Mr. Stein.
Do I need to make an offer of proof first?
That would be wonderful.
Sure.
The subject property is located at 906 Ridge Pike. It's a corner of Ridge Pike and Allenwood Road. It's located in a commercial zoning district, and it's approximately 4 acres. And ultimately, this property will be subdivided into 2 lots. Lot number 1 on the plan will be the location of the Royal Farms development. Lot number 2, we don't have a use at this point. That's going to be retained by the Conocelli family. So a use has not yet been identified for that lot. The front lot, lot number 1, is approximately 2.23 acres. The rear lot is approximately 1.77 acres. In the commercial zoning district, as you know, a convenience store is a permitted use. This will be a Royal Farms convenience store. The gasoline filling station is permitted by special exception. I should point out that this has been reviewed twice by the Planning Commission, once as a sketch plan and once in conjunction with this application. The access points will be a right-in only from Ridge Pike, located in this area on the plan. There would be a right-in from Allenwood Road, located closest to the intersection, and then further from the intersection, a full-service access point. Also, as you're probably aware, there's a pump station on the property next door. Township has asked us to include an emergency access way for that pump station. It would be gated or have some form of Knox box, so it wouldn't be generally accessible. It would be accessible in an emergency situation. The plan has been designed in accordance or to take into account the improvements on Ridge Pike. And of course, ultimately, if you approve this application, it will have to be the subject of a land development. So it will be reviewed in terms of stormwater and lighting and landscaping at that particular point. In connection with the special exception for a filling station, I would call 2 witnesses. One is Daniel Glass, who is an engineer with Robert E. Blue Consulting, Engineers PC. Dave Warner, who's sitting in the rear, is our transportation engineer. And Matt DiGiulio, who's a representative of the applicant, Two Farms, will hopefully be here in 4 minutes, promised by 8 o'clock. In any event, a special exception, as you know, in your ordinance has a number of different criteria that needs to be met by the applicant. Criteria number 1, it can't allow a substantial increase in traffic congestion. Mr. Warner would testify that Ridge Pike and Allenwood Road are both heavily traveled roads, and this is a use that draws, for the most part, from existing traffic that's already on the road. It's a convenience type use. The application can't propose, or the use can't increase the danger of fire or panic, or otherwise endanger the public safety. Mr. DiGiulio would testify that this site is actually monitored both internally and externally. Internally inside the convenience store, externally by monitors that connect with corporate headquarters in Virginia. Overcrowd the land or created undue concentration of population. Again, this is a commercial use in a commercial district, so we're not increasing the population. Impair an adequate supply of light and air to adjacent property. The adjacent property is vacant land, so that would not be an issue. Adversely affect the comprehensive plan of the township. We're not trying to change the underlying zoning district. It will continue to be C commercial, and we're proposing what are essentially permitted uses in the zoning district. Unduly burden water, sewer, school, park, or other public facilities. Mr. Glass will tell you there's ample water and sewer and anything else that's needed for this particular site. Be detrimental to the appropriate use of adjacent property. It wouldn't be in any event, but the adjacent properties are a pump station and vacant land. Endanger the safety of persons or property by improper location or design of facilities for ingress or egress. Again, Mr. Warner would testify that the egress has been properly designed and taken into account the Ridge Pike improvements. Ultimately, because Ridge is a state highway and Allenwood Road's a county highway, there would be occupancy permits required for both roads. And that would be part of the land development process. And otherwise adversely affect the public health, safety, morals, or general welfare. We don't believe this proposal would in any way impact those particular items. With regard to the signage and the relief that's been requested for the signage, Mr. Glass and Mr. Warner would both tell you that the signage being proposed is consistent with this type of use. Given the nature of the two roads, Allenwood and Ridge, the size and height of the signage and the number of signs are necessary to give the motoring public advance warning of when they have to make a turn, and so that they can safely ingress and egress from the site. So that's a long-winded offer of proof. Both Mr. Glass and Mr. Warner are here to answer any questions. As I said, Mr. DiGiulio now has 1 minute.
I'd like to have your witnesses sworn in.
Sure.
I do have a few questions, and the board may have others as well.
Yeah, and I want to get their name, full names.
State full names and spell
Dan Glass, Glass. David Horner, Horner.
Raise your right hand, please. So do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony given in this matter is the truth and nothing but the truth, nothing but
I do.
Just again, by way of background, Mr. Glass is an engineer with Robert E. Blue Consulting Engineers.
PE?
No, EIT. I'm sitting for my PE in June.
Okay, EIT?
Yes.
And, okay.
But has worked on a number of similar applications.
Okay, Robert Blue.
And been accepted as an expert by other zoning hearing boards. Mr. Warner is a principal in Warner and Cantor, transportation engineers, professional licensure in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Florida, I think.
Correct, very good.
Familiar with Mr. Blue.
So they both certainly have the qualifications to be accepted as experts.
Yeah, I don't know if the board has any questions of either witness about their qualifications. If not, they'll be accepted as experts in their respective fields.
Very good, thank you.
In engineering and traffic engineering.
I guess since you're seeking variance for signage, I'd like to have whichever one's more appropriate, because I guess they do hit on both issues. With respect to where the sign is in the front, how tall it is, why it has to be as tall as it is, and explain a little bit better the relief necessary, the variances that you're seeking and why they're necessary for public safety, et cetera. And then beyond that, I have a couple other questions just about the traffic engineer because of its location.
Okay. So on this plan, we have the sign shown right here, but in our land development, we're proposing to move it over more towards the intersection, but still be out of the site triangles for intersection, kind of to be able to get traffic from both Allenwood and East Pike to see the sign.
But the sign won't change in size from what you've applied for, you're just going to move the location?
Yes, just move the location of it.
Still 460.46 square feet of total signage?
Of total signage, so the pylon sign, you guys count both sides of it, and so that will be 324.2, I believe.
I believe that's correct.
Total, and
320, hit me with that number again?
I think 324.2 or 4, I'm not sure what the point is. Might be 0.4, I think.
324.
Square feet.
Yes. And that's the typical sign that Raw Farm uses for the majority of their stores. So you kind of need it to be 25 feet in height when it's only allowed 20, so you can get the extra visibilities from both roads and allow the cars time to know they're going to turn instead of having to slam on the brakes and find the entrances.
I guess when I look at your sign, and this is the typical sign, by having it up higher, you actually create better sight path because the actual sign body is up higher.
Yes.
So by adding it up that 5 feet, you actually make it so that everybody coming to that corner can see better and people inside can see better. At least that's my...
That's correct.
And are you going to keep the gas prices as set on the sign? Can we make that a proviso?
That was my question.
Would you say that? That's a proviso, right?
That was going to be my question.
Is that addition? 153 a gallon?
Yeah.
That's above my pay grade.
Oh, sorry, it's a liter. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's like Ireland, right?
So it's basically 25 feet, but this is a typical sort of...
It's about 7 feet, maybe 6.5, I think. I'm not sure the exact between the base and the start of the...
There's two different dimensions on the same sign, so I'm not sure whether it's 7 feet, 3 inches, or 6 feet.
So 6 feet is the minimum they can do. They normally do it about 7, though.
Okay.
So someone can walk underneath it if they stray off the sidewalk.
Okay.
But you're only proposing one pylon sign for the entire development?
Yes, we originally were going to go for 2, but that's before we realized that you can't have both sides
Both
of the sign.
sides.
Okay. But that's why you want to move it a little bit further,
Yes,
too, I guess.
so
that
there's
way.
more visibility towards Allenwood.
And just to clarify, these aren't going to be LED changeable prices for the gas prices.
It's going, and
If it is,
Matt
I
can
don't
answer
think
that.
they're LED.
I don't think they're LED.
okay.
So it's a tape.
Oh, wait, hold on. Come on up here for a second.
Okay. You have been sworn in.
Yes.
Coming in late.
Could you swear this gentleman in, please?
Tell me who they're going to spell, please.
It's Matthew DiGiulio, D-I-G-I-U-L-I-O.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony by giving this matter is true, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Your last name again?
DiGiulio, D-I-G-I-U-L-I-O.
Got it.
So I'm a developer for Rural Farms. So the sign itself is backlit. It's not LEDs. It is LED lights within the sign itself for energy power, but it's backlit tape, and they control it internal to the store. So if you think of like old time,
Right.
you're not putting the prices
If it's
up.
going to be LED changeable,
with the prices, you would need an additional variance for that.
Correct, it's not like Wawa.
Perfect. So I wanted to try that.
But it is controlled remotely.
It is controlled remotely within the store, correct. And you can actually change it corporately as well.
So that was my main question about the sign, just why you needed the size signage that you do and the height. And I guess the rest of it is to have the signs that you have around the building.
And on the canopy.
Yeah, I mean, the one big difference, I guess, people usually relate it to Wawa. Wawa shows 2 prices, diesel, regular. Royal shows 4 prices, 1 to differentiate because they provide Super 93, and 2, full disclosure to the public to disclose the prices before they come on site. Oftentimes customers get there and they realize, oh, it's 60 cents higher than the registry. And then the size of the sign is based, the letter sizing is based on the speed limit of the road, and this is Spoke interchange. I want to say it's 45 miles per hour out on that stretch of the road there, not Allenwood, but on
35 on Ridgepoint.
Is it 35 right there?
Yes.
Got it. So they typically use 18 to 24 inch letters to make sure that's visible from size of the distance, especially when you're.
Given all the traffic lights, you're hard pressed to do 35 in that stretch.
Right.
I had then a question for the traffic engineer, because Allenwood Road is a terrible mess, and it backs up. If you try to come in off of Ridge Pike to go to Home Depot, and you're coming from the east, on a Saturday afternoon, forget it. I mean, it backs all the way up. It backs up to Seven Stars Road, and you're going to be adding all extra stuff to what's already a mess there. I mean, how can you sit here and say that this doesn't create a traffic mess where there's already a mess?
Well, I understand what you're saying about the existing situation.
Right.
It's a traffic light here, and there's been backups at times along Allen Road, certainly. What our obligation is to do in order to provide the most safe and efficient access, obviously there needs to be access to the site. So, I'll start with Ridge Pike. We're minimizing the impact on Ridge, putting an in only that avoids traffic going into the signal intersection. So that's a plus. Of course, it has to be approved by PennDOT and the county. They both have a stake in this roadway. We understand that, and we've already had some conversations in advance of filing an official permit application. For Allenwood Road, because this would be the only means for traffic from this site to get to Ridge Pike to go back the other direction, there needs to be a full access on Allenwood, and we've chosen to put it at the furthest possible point at the site from the intersection, obviously to avoid most of the queue most of the time. The intersection will be here 90 degrees. We'll have the appropriate stop signs and stop bars, and the signage as necessary, even if it do not block the boxes, is appropriate on Allenwood. We can do that. Sight lines are good, and certainly traffic laws will have to be obeyed. People coming out, they have to wait for a queue if they have to for a single cycle to go through. They will. We also do have a right-in proposed on Allenwood, and again, that's to get traffic into the site as quickly as possible to try to keep this access and full access as minimal conflict as possible.
If you had coming out at that first one, it would never work. I mean, the only way you could have it would be right turn only. Because it would absolutely never work.
Absolutely. And we wouldn't have, obviously, with a median there on Ridge, we couldn't go out on the Ridge directly either. Now, with that said, the county and the PennDOT will have to approve those access points, and we will have to do a full traffic impact study for the township and for the county and for PennDOT. And all the numbers and all the analysis will be in there, and decisions can be made as to move to that point.
I just see that as a difficult left turn to make at any of the high volume times.
Understood. And at times the queue will back up, sure.
Oh, it does. Not it will, it does.
Well, I say keep in mind though too that Ridge Pike, before this is built, those improvements by DOT and the county are going in, right? So that it's part of the reason we don't have a right in, right out on Ridge and right in only, so that you don't have a leaving mechanism because you have 2 dedicated turn lanes that are going to that IKEA, which is right now they're going into that turnabout, which is what backs up Seven Stars Road in the first place.
Well, backs up both. Backs up on the Ridge Pike.
So the turnabout's going away?
That turnabout's going away. There'll be 2 dedicated left-hand turn lanes, so all that traffic will be moving away from, I'll call it the Royal Farm side of the intersection. And so I would anticipate most of that traffic, and it'll come up in our study when Dave completes it, will move away from the site and actually clean up, that access point. And I also expect signalization to be improved in that component. Because keep in mind, not just us, but DOT in that improvement process has to meet certain service levels and have to be better than what they were before.
It's a low bar.
Yeah, no, I got you. So if it's a D or it's failing and you're still failing, it should be much better, is what I would tell you.
I have no further questions. Ms. Pygott, do you have any questions?
Just one question. Is this going to be a 24-hour service?
It is. So all the Royal Farms stores, super convenience stores, are all 24-hour service.
No, I just think it's a good location for the gas station, convenience stores.
Mr. Daly?
That's it, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I'm no mathematician. I'm just looking at what seems to be a discrepancy between the 2 documents, at least as far as I can see. The total square footage cited, that applied for, cited on point 9 on page 3 of Exhibit A, adds to 279.06 square feet with only 1 pylon sign. But the notice mentions 460.46 square feet. So I'm just wondering what the differential is.
Because I'm right.
Oh. Oh, okay. Well, I accept that. That's just.
They didn't count the second side. I think.
He's 1 and 1 today.
We originally didn't have the back side of the sign counted.
Okay. Okay. I just wanted to verify that. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Mr. Perilli?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My questions, and I think we were just talking about it, about this, the circle turn. You got to make a right turn off of Ridge to go to IKEA. You got to go around the circle.
Yep.
You're saying that's coming out?
Correct.
So that Allenwood Road from 7 Stars will come right up to the light now instead of taking you into that circle?
So correct. So it's going to become a true 4-way intersection. There is no turnabout. So when those DOT improvements come into place, which is over the next year, they're already in full design. They're completed design and they're in bidding right now to do those improvements. Those improvements will happen before the Royal Farms.
So their improvements are already approved?
Correct.
So this is not subject to those?
It's not subject to this development. In fact, the owner, Conacelli, gave right away in order for them to make those improvements through this whole intersection, which will create 2 dedicated left-hand turn lanes on Ridge. Instead of going into the circle like you go now to turn about and come on to South Allenwood,
right.
You'll turn left directly at the light towards the IKEA. You'll never even come on to the Royal Farms side of the site.
And then when you come off the Blue Route,
Yep.
you have an acceleration lane coming up to that light.
Correct.
What's going to happen to that lane?
Those 2 lanes will be open, and there'll be an additional decel lane coming into the Royal Farms / Allenwood.
So you'll still have the width on the right side of the road?
Correct.
They're moving to the other side of the road with 2 left turn lanes?
Correct. Widening the whole intersection. So they took taking on each side to complete those improvements. And again, those are not subject to the Royal Farms development. Those are already in scope.
Right, that's just going in. I didn't know about that. Okay, no more questions, thanks.
So when they finally do get rid of the circle, is that like that separator divider thing still going to be there?
On Ridge?
Like that coming out of on Allenwood. Is that an island? Like right now, it kind of splits you up.
I believe it's going to be a painted island.
Yeah.
And it'll be asphalt or concrete. I'm not sure exactly.
You're referring to it right here in this area?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this plan shows it being replaced with striping just in order to maintain the separation between the through lanes. But this area can be subject to the county's whims as far as how they'd like to see that restriped. But the island will be gone, the median will be gone.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great idea. That's the only, like, me living in the area, the only reason I wouldn't go there is the fear of getting out of there.
Right.
I mean, other than that, I think it's a great idea.
If it wasn't for these improvements, I'm sure.
So is it going to be in and out that last It's going to be, you
Only exit.
Correct.
can only exit there?
Well, you can enter two.
No. But the only exit is that
Correct.
one.
That's the only exit, but you can also enter there.
Correct.
And that's not like right turn only, right? You can make a left out of there.
Full access, right in, right out, left in, left out.
Okay. Yeah, that's my only concern.
Most of the traffic will be let in off Ridge Pike with that slip right issue.
Right.
Oh, they'll slip right in, it's just they'll never get out.
So when they get off the Blue Route, they never have to like merge left. If they stay in that lane, they'll go right. They can just go right into there.
Correct.
Yeah. No further questions. Thank you.
I have no further questions, Mr. Sander.
How many total signs are there? And that, I'm going to include everything that you can in square footage to come up with the number you came up with.
There's the pylon sign we talked about. There's the directional sign at each entrance to like light up, show you where it is. There's the ADA signage, and there's the canopy signage and the signage on the building.
Okay. How many total signs?
So, how many directional signs? I calculated for only one directional sign.
I see.
Correct, we went down to one direction.
Okay.
So one direction, one pylon, two canopy signs on either end. You've got a front wall sign, Rural Farms. And then if you count, I don't know, I haven't looked at the ordinance, that's good offhand, but if you count signs, it'll say World Famous Chicken on there.
That counts.
That's a sign. And then there's a sign on the rear of the building at the side that also says World Farms Small.
But not world famous.
That's the back.
Correct. What you see right there in that rendering is the rear.
Oh, yeah. World's famous chicken,
So
fresh
everybody has
chicken.
to exit in the back of the place.
Correct, because this is not a, I mean, it is a front rear loading store, but it's truly a front loading store. Every building's designed front rear loading. But if we have parking in the rear, then yes, there would be the additional sign, World Famous Chicken in the rear. But in this particular instance, all the parking is maintained out front and on the side.
And it's just the one pylon sign moving over.
Correct.
So this one's wrong.
Everybody's going to have to drive around the rear to get out of there, right?
They will, that rear access aisle, yes, but there's no, other than, I'll say landscape parking, there is a truck area that's hashed that can lay up back there, keep them out of the front of the store that would come up operations, and they'll be able to access the rear of the store.
See. Any further questions, Mr. Sander?
No, thank you.
I would probably just make a right.
And
I
this,
would try
this
to
might
make a
come
right
up
out
more
there.
in the land development, but just something to keep in mind. With the only access out, and I'm not a traffic engineer whatsoever, I'm just a zoning officer. I don't know if consideration will be taken just to have two lanes out possibly. Maybe a right turn out and a left turn out, since that's the only access out. It's just, again, I'm just a zoning officer.
But you need a way to get in if you're coming from 7 Star.
Yeah.
Well, no, I understand that. So what I'm saying.
Make that wider?
Exactly.
Yeah, I got it.
Add another lane.
You're referring to the exit lane where we show
Correct.
one.
Make
Like
it
if
two.
there's going to be a bunch of people.
One right,
making
one
a
left.
Right, sure.
For
Yeah.
people that
And
know
then a
the
separate one to
shortcut.
enter.
Yeah, certainly a
Right,
consideration.
yeah.
When we do our full study and analyze the movements, certainly take that into account.
Because if you just wanted to make that right turn and head back up towards Conticelli, and somebody's trying to make that left, you could sit there for a long time.
Understood.
You know what I mean? Like that would be the only reason I wouldn't pull in there. I mean, just to be honest with you, you know. I love Royal Farms. I think it's a great idea, but if I know I'm going to have to sit behind a car for 10 minutes trying to get back out, you know.
You're not going there.
Now, I'd be like, yeah, I got to go. I mean, I don't have time. But other than that, I think it's a great idea.
Mr. Stein, can we mark the 3-page exhibit as exhibit A1?
I do have one additional question, Mr. Chairman. Can I make?
Go ahead.
Yeah, is the Will the pylon sign have the same text on both sides? Or
Yes.
is it just going to be gas, basically gas prices?
Correct.
If we're going to advertise the chicken, I'm sort of missing that.
So where would we
What
advertise?
sign, what sign? will
I mean,
be-
they do like interior, like window signs that you'll see like in the vestibule that'll say, 6-piece chicken.
Oh, okay.
$5.99.
Oh, okay, okay.
But they don't do that direct on the actual.
Okay, on that,
Gas
okay,
pricing.
okay.
Correct.
So primarily it's advertising itself as a gas station?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. That is required by law.
You gonna have the big chicken?
I think we brought this
The big
up.
white chicken out front?
The statue one or
Yeah.
the one that they open up with?
No, the permanent one, the one
The
that just,
permanent one, they do put those at every store now.
do they really?
That, I thought I brought this, did I bring this up at one of the
That's a
planning
sign.
agency meetings? Is
Yeah,
that
I think you did bring that up as a potential
That would
sign.
be considered signage.
It's art.
It's all.
It's on
The only reason I have to count it as signage, we have precedent at the PF Chang's where they have some
or whatever it is.
dragon's horse statue.
Got it.
And back 15 years ago, they counted it as
Is it
signage.
chicken or a
I
rooster?
believe they do, yeah.
It's a chicken.
Is it
I
chicken?
was-
Well, all roosters are chickens, but not that chicken.
Got it. So we would have to put that in as part of the sign.
So you might have to come back for additional relief.
Got it. Okay, understood.
Any further questions, Mr. Sander?
No, thank you.
Mr. Conroy?
Is there a chicken at the one in Coldstone? I don't
No,
remember
There's
seeing
not
one.
one.
That's the one I go
There is.
to.
Correct. So that one predates when corporate
Okay.
communication.
Alright.
That one took a while.
Okay. All right, that's all I have.
But yes, that one does not.
Am I gonna be able to smell that chicken from across the Blue Route?
Probably.
Anyone from the public want to speak in support of this application? Anyone from the public want to speak in opposition to this application? Hearing no public comment, Mr. Sander?
Yeah,
Okay. We do have an issue that we have to have included in a motion if we are inclined to give a motion in support of this application, so.
Well, I would suggest, if the zoning hearing board is of a mind, it would be a motion to grant the application of Two Farms, Inc. For relief associated with the development of 906 Ridge Pike in Conshohocken with a Royal Farms convenience store with gasoline station. It would be to grant a special exception to allow that use in the commercial district. It would also be to grant signage relief to allow 460.46 square feet of signage where a maximum of 130 square feet is allowed, to allow a double-faced pylon sign to be 25 feet in height where a maximum height of 20 feet is allowed, and to allow a 16 square foot directional sign with a business name located on it where a maximum of 4 square feet is allowed, conditioned on the following. One, the applicant shall provide a redacted agreement of sale to show standing, an agreement of sale for this property, obviously. Secondly, the applicant shall obtain final unappealable land development approval. And the third and fourth one are our standard conditions that prior to the issuance of any permits, an occupancy permit, that all permits and approvals required for the development of the property are obtained from all agencies with jurisdiction. And finally, that the property be developed in substantial compliance with the testimony and evidence presented this evening.
Okay. So does anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to do what Mr. Sanders said. If you can guide me through it, you need to guide me through it.
Restate it that way?
Oh, you don't have to say the whole movie.
No, we just say it's stated.
Just say
by
so
the-
moved.
Okay, yeah, I make a motion to, in conformity with, as stated by our council.
Do we have a second?
I second it, second the motion.
Votes, Ms. Pygott,
In favor?
Mr. Daly,
In favor.
Mr. Aprile,
In favor.
Mr. Armando,
In favor.
and the chair votes in favor.
Thank you very much.
Good luck. We are adjourned.